Mr. Lawler, and we now recognize Mr. McCormick, who bravely served our country in the United States Marine Corps as a pilot and now is in Congress with us. Mr. McCormick, you're recognized.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I definitely feel like it's to America's great benefit to be a partner in defending Ukraine, preventing the unprovoked Russian ambitions to take over our country and to continue to expand their, what I would say is probably something that Peter the Great has been quoted by Putin. People think that he's just a former KGB guy who's part of the Soviet Union. He literally quotes Peter the Great. And in many ways, it's in their DNA when you talk about Catherine the Great having to expand her borders in order to secure her borders. So we understand what's at stake here. I thought it was interesting that the Biden administration has constantly been too slow in delivering needed weapon systems for Ukraine to win this. The president's irresponsible rhetoric prior to the invasion and reluctance to act more decisively since then has caused Russia's unjustified aggression war to Ukraine to continue for longer than it should have ever been continued. I will say the original Biden plan, as I understood it, was to have President Zelensky flee to America, not learning the lessons from Afghanistan, which I participated in also, and which I think would have been catastrophic as Ukraine would have folded instantly without leadership. And we would have had another war probably in Moldavia or possibly Estonia or Romania, who knows? Because his stated objective was to continue to grow the Russian Empire, if you will. I understand the violent and chaotic U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan has created this security vacuum where now China is very aggressive, Russia is very aggressive, and there's a lot of uncertainty as where we're going to go from here right now. What I'm concerned with is I've seen great accountability as far as my questions being answered on where our military aid is going. We can see downrange how it's affecting this war and how Russia's being really beaten badly in many ways. You've seen a massive amount of armor taken out, personnel. We're at a stalemate right now. There's about to be a counteroffensive with any blessings. Hopefully we'll be successive. And when I say we, I mean them. What I am concerned with is any protracted war. Anybody who's been to command and staff school, anybody who's studied warfare and understands the limitations of American warfare, is you lose popular support by extending a war, no matter who you are. Russia lost popular support in Afghanistan. So did we. If we don't have accountability for our equipment, we have a problem. I feel like the military equipment has been well accounted for. What I'm concerned for is the Biden administration's plan to spend about a third of our money in their economy and not in the ways that I think American people would be supportive of. For example, union pensions. I just don't think that that's going to be popular. I don't think it's going to be sustainable. And what I'm worried about is losing popular support for a war that has great ability to keep us out of a war. And I want you to speak on that as far as how we're spending our money outside of military.
Sure. Thank you for your question, as I appreciate it as the proud daughter of a retired Air Force pilot. The funding that is going to the government of Ukraine to supply pensions and salaries for civil servants is, as I described, going through the World Bank's trust fund as the direct budget support. So it's not going directly from the government of the United States to the government of Ukraine. It's going through the World Bank as the trustee for the funds. In addition, the mechanism that policymakers decided to use was a reimbursement mechanism. So the expenditures are being submitted after they've already been paid for by the government of Ukraine. And the government of Ukraine is certifying that these were eligible expenses. So it's not money that is allowed to go to support any other even government ministries other than the salaries or what is specified in the agreement. And that's what the government of Ukraine is certifying, that they went to the eligible expenditures. And then the levels of oversight that have been built into this system of oversight is what I'm calling it, then falls to the trustee, which is the World Bank, to look at using their own very well-established internal standards, controls, and procedures to certify that they were eligible. And then USAID has a responsibility as well.
Yeah, so when you talk about eligible expenditures, this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's fancy words for basically saying things we don't want to go to. I understand how the reimbursements work, but just like when we give money to anybody in the federal government, we usually have strings attached to where that money goes. I think it would be a very good idea to understand that the American people ultimately hold us accountable, and we'll hold anybody we give money to accountable. And it can't go to things the American people don't support. And with that, I yield.